Well, today's Friday, so I'm leaving Niagara Falls. Let me just switch on the Bluetooth here in case somebody calls me. See, now it's on. It's switched on to my car. Yeah, the weather is pretty bad, and time now is 11:34. So I've been sitting here since 8 o'clock because I stopped for coffee at this Starbucks. And I grabbed coffee, and then I went here, put the phone like this, and programmed the address.
Regional Road 98.
And you see now it says 1 hour 11 minutes.
Turn right onto Montrose Road, Regional Road 98, then turn right onto Regional Road 57.
1 hour 11 minutes, 104 kilometers, and it's all green, like no delays. Whereas before it showed hour and like 50 minutes or something crazy like that. And I hope I don't get stuck here. It's been snowing non-stop ever since and of course this is a rear-wheel drive car, so which is another reason why we're recording. And so yeah, and I look at the route like this, you know, and everything was red. In the morning it snowed all night, and now I think it's eased up a little bit, but it snowed all night and plows were still working. And so I decided to stay here because I needed to order permits since today's Friday, and I thought in stead of spending 2 hours in the traffic jam, you know, I can order permits now, right? I don't have to be over there in Cambridge ASAP. I just need to pick up my truck. Actually, that's what I put in, because they told me yesterday my truck was ready. I don't know how much they're gonna charge me, but so I got 4 batteries, and they said they changed this gasket.
Turn left onto the Queen Elizabeth Way ramp.
Yeah, under the hood, and they did the top set. So I don't know. Let's say $100 for the gasket with labor, maybe 500 for top set. That's 600, and plus new batteries. So it's probably gonna be somewhere around, I'm guessing, $1,500, depending on the price of the batteries. And also what I did in the morning, I started thinking about this, you know, about this load, and man, what did I sign up for? Because this is the same crazy load. I'm gonna post a link at the end. It's the same load I did in July last year from
in 600 meters, merge onto QEW at Queen Elizabeth Way.
From South Carolina to Quebec. Remember that big blue machine with a huge stick? And I had to load it myself, and it was so complicated. I actually recorded a video called how to load a Fuchs 360 material handler. And this is not the first time where actually my own videos help me, because it's exactly the same machine I'm picking up. It's Fuchs, Fuchs, and it's a joint venture between, I think,
Continue on QEW for 66 kilometers.
Terex and Fuchs, and the same model number, 360. So it weighs about 105,000 pounds. And I remember I went there with the Jeep, because the guy paid me. They paid me pretty good to go to Quebec. And I had the Jeep stacked and the Stinger stacked on the trailer, because, you know, it was like 850 miles to go empty. But again, the load paid good, so it was justified. And so the Jeep, undecking the Jeep and hooking up was like 30 minutes, but the booster was, I think it's like 3 hours, 4 hours, because the forklift guy was just looking to me for what to do. And I say, you know, I still remember, it was so frustrating. So he says, so what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do with the forks? Like, he had no clue what he was doing. And he even, he dropped the Jeep and blamed me for this. Like, the Jeep was maybe 3 feet in the air. And so the chains shifted and the rear tandems just slammed on the ground. I still remember, it was a very stressful load, and I went, instead of going straight, I tried to avoid New York as much as possible, because I was going to Quebec, right? So I could just go on straight towards Montreal. But I still remember that I had to do a lot of research, you know, which way to go to save money on permits, because New York would require 3 pilots on 2-lane roads and 2 pilots on a freeway once you're over 100 feet long. And so I watched the video how to load the machine, where I'm talking to myself now how everything works inside the cab. Super helpful, because it was counterintuitive. So, but again, it's the same machine. So, and I still remember that, and I remember how difficult it was to find the position for the stick, because there's only one spot where that stick can rest on your trailer. There was a reinforced, probably 2 feet long piece under the stick. Everything else has hoses, cables, you know. And because of that, the trailer was overloaded, but the truck and Jeep were underloaded. And I'm not sure why I went there with the Jeep. Well, I think I know why, because I was afraid that the truck will be overloaded. Because it's only, you know, I don't think it even weighs 105,000 pounds, because there's that catwalk. Oh, and again, this time they did the same thing. So they sent me, once we agreed on the rate, they sent me the rate confirmation, and then I signed that, sent it back, and they sent me the port pickup documents, right? Because it picks up at the port in New Jersey. And again, I see the same thing where it says there's 2 sheets, like 2 pickup sheets. One says base unit, which is the machine, and then sheet 2 says catwalk. In my old video, I don't know why I was calling it sidewalk, because I meant catwalk. So that catwalk, you know, it's a big frame, right? And so they take it off when they ship this machine, because otherwise it would be too wide. And I remember back then I was talking to the guy, I said, I'm not picking up 2 pieces. You understand this? I said, it's overweight. I cannot load 2 pieces. And the guy says, no, you're picking up 1. Then why are you sending me this? It's just, you know, confusing. And even the guy in the port, I remember, he said, no, you're just picking up the base unit. But they sent me the paperwork for everything. You see now everything melted. You see this? Even though it's -8 Celsius, but everything melted. Whereas in the morning, all this would have been a mess. So it's a good thing I waited. And so I watched all those videos, and I talked to a buddy of mine who does, you know, heavier machines, another heavy haul trucker who he has more experience, even though he's younger than me, but he moves all types of machines, including rail machines. And so I called him and asked him about this. I said, what do you think? Will it work if I just go without the Jeep? Because I realized this. I'm going to New Jersey, right? Oh, check this out. What happened over there? Oh, just construction? Okay. So I'm going to New Jersey. I cannot have the Jeep because otherwise I would need pilots everywhere. And again, over 100 feet, you need 3 pilots in New York, which is definitely a no-no because each pilot will be like $500 US, you know? And so he told me, he says, look at the, you remember your axle weights? I said, yeah, I think I scaled because I saw in the video I'm talking and I'm showing the scale ticket, and actually now I see how bad, like you cannot see the axle weights. You know, I was trying myself, I stopped the video 20 times, and you know, because I was sitting inside the cab where of course it's dark, right? Even during the day, and this was July, and I'm holding the scale ticket, but I brought the camera. I thought it would show, but it's very hard to read the actual axle weights, and I was like, why I didn't write it down? Usually sometimes, you know, at the end of the video, right, I do like that running line, you know, running text, but this time I didn't do it, so I had to guess. But I remember, so he says, look at your drive axle weights and your Jeep weights, and then he says, deduct the weight of the Jeep, and this way you will know if it's gonna work for on 8 axles or not, you know. And we both agreed that my previous trailer would be much nicer for this, because with that 55 ton, right, I was 53,000 pounds gross weight, whereas now I'm 60. Well, actually I'm gonna be 65 because I'm gonna keep the long neck and I'm gonna keep the booster. Because without the booster, you know, the booster always sends weight forward, right? So if I just go with 4 axles, I can do that, but then I'm afraid I'd have too much weight on the back. Like, even though, you know, New York, PA, I can get 23,000 per axle, so like 92,000 on the quad, but and I wasn't sure about New Jersey, so I checked my book and it says 800 pounds per 1 inch of tire width. And so if it's 11-inch tires, like my 275 millimeter, so that means you can get what, like 33,000 pounds per axle. So, and I called my permit lady. I said, is this true? Like I said, in my book here, that's what I'm reading, 800 pounds per inch of tire width. Are there any tricks? And she says, I said, are there any limitations, like gross weight wise? And she says, I don't know, over here I see the same 800 pounds, which is great. I said, what about gross weight? Is there any problems when you have only 8 axles? And she says, no, all I see here, my book says maximum gross weight depends on the bridge. by bridge, of course, they mean, you know, your axle spacings. So, like some states, you know, like I know Georgia does that. Georgia does that. Just wanted to make sure this guy can see me, right? Because he was changing lanes, you know, very dangerous. He's changing lanes, and I know I'm in his blind spot, even though I have all my lights on. Yeah, like Georgia, for example, right? Like, I'm pretty sure once you go over 150,000 gross, Georgia requires more than 2 units. You know, like a truck and trailer cannot be a quad, even though they will give you like 100,000 pounds on the last 4 axles, I think. Well, let's just say you can get a lot on the quad over there, but this tiny rule makes that impossible. So you must have not just truck and trailer, but either a Jeep or a booster. You know, like I have a sheet, I have a printout from Georgia DOT about this. Frontier Specialized sent me a copy, so which is, I don't go there often, but you know, it's useful to have that. So, and so I'm afraid, I don't know, might be that in New Jersey, yeah, they say, okay, we'll give you, like in my case, max I can do is 23,000 per axle, because that's my factory maximum. You cannot exceed your factory axle rating, right? But they might say, hey, you know, your overall bridge, like axle 1 to axle 8 is too short, you know, and they say, okay, we cannot give you this much weight. And then of course I'll be not in a very good situation. But I know that once I get out of New Jersey somehow, New York and PA, they allow lots of weight. And so and that's why I'm just gonna go with the long, like the same way my trailer is sitting now, with a long neck, 185 inches, like, which is 101 base plus 84 flip box. I'm gonna keep that because without the Jeep, you know, I want to keep the truck away from the trailer. And plus these guys, you know, these towing guys, right, they raise their prices. So the minimum now is 2 hours. So I call them, even for a small thing like to change the neck extensions, they will want to charge me like 500 bucks Canadian, because that's 2 hours and the rate is high now. I think it's like $2.25 or something per hour times 2 plus tax. It's way too expensive, right? And then the booster actually is helpful because, you know, New Jersey can be pretty tight, right? And so with the booster, it's easier to go around corners. And again, it'll help to prevent overloading on the trailer, because again, the booster, that last axle, right, because of that 14-1 spread, more weight goes forward, and that's what I need. Yeah, remember with that one, since it's hard to see the actual scale ticket, but when I was talking, I mentioned this, so I know that when I had the Jeep and the booster and was running on 9 axles in South Carolina, I was something like 33,000 pounds on the drives and maybe 37 on the Jeep, like very light. But in the back, I was like pretty much maxed out, you know. And so now what I ordered, I ordered maximum weights based on my factory rating, which is my weakest axles are the steer axle 20,000 and the lift axle 20,000. Everything else, my factory limit is 23,000. Like the 2 axles on the truck, so 46 tandem, right? So 23, and the same on the trailer. 23, 23, 23. So that's what I ordered. 20, 20, 23, 23, and then 4 times 23, which is 3 plus 1. I see the road is pretty good. All melted. And so the permits are ordered. And another issue is with this broker. Oh, and by the way, it's the same broker who gave me that load in July last year. It's the same broker who has this, but this time it's from New Jersey. And I look at my old invoice again. You know, it's very helpful when you keep all your paperwork, right? I found that load in July because they all listed by the company, by the broker name. All I need to do is just open the month. You know, I open January, I don't see that company name, like the broker's name. And I went February, March, April, then I see July, boom, that broker name. I click on the folder. Under that broker name, I see my permits, I see the diagram of the machine, I see the rate confirmation, and I see that at the bottom where I signed, I added, like myself, you know, when he sent me the rate confirmation, I typed payment terms, wire transfer to carrier's bank account upon delivery, once the broker receives POD, signed bill of lading. And I was thinking about that. Why would I do that, right? So normally I factor everything. And so I went back to my factoring company website and I punched in this guy's name and state. Couldn't find his MC number, but so I can search, I can check his credit by the company name and the state where he's at. And I see the same, and I remembered right away why I couldn't factor this. Like the results came in yellow, meaning the rating is unsatisfactory and that you have to call, you have to talk to the representative of the factoring company to see if they will approve this. And I look at the statistics, it says this particular broker did have some dealings with my factoring company, but all the payments they made were within 60 days, not 30 or 20 or 10, but 60. And you know, factoring companies don't like that. And so I emailed my girl at the factoring company. I said, Sarah, could you please check these guys? And I attached this screenshot of that yellow notice, unsatisfactory credit rating. And after, I guess she was checking them, and then 15-20 minutes later I got the reply saying that, yeah, we could factor this, but only on a recourse basis. I'm like, wait a second. You know, recourse. You know what recourse means? Like, normally it's non-recourse, meaning that once they approve somebody, I get paid right away. Usually on the same day I send them the paperwork. But that's non-recourse, meaning that even if they don't get paid, if this guy disappears, like they already paid me, right? But they cannot collect the money from the broker, they will not go after me. Once I'm paid, it's my money. So non-recourse. That's the best way, right? And with this guy, she says, yeah, we can do it as an exception, but on a recourse basis. If we don't get paid within 60 days, we'll have to take the money back. And I'm like, wait a second. I don't like how that sounds, you know? And so I'm supposed to leave Sunday because they need this machine to be removed from the port. Monday is the last day. I'm guessing after that, they will have some penalties kick in. And so I emailed the guy and I said, can we do it like last time? Because I said, I have the same problem with your credit rating. And the guy said, well, he says, I hate factoring companies. We have some issue. We've had some issues with them, he says, because we do so much business. Let's say they factored 20 carriers for us, right? And so he says, we send them one check for all 20 loads. And they just keep that check. They don't know how to apply it, which account, which carrier, and it gets late, and then they blame us. So I don't know who he was talking about, like what particular, you know, factoring company, but that was his experience because they do so much business. Basically, checks get misplaced, and so I think that could happen. Yeah, but so he says mostly we try to pay here in the States. He says we just, that's why our record is not so good, is because mostly we just pay by what is called ACH, right? And I said, well, unfortunately I'm in Canada. I said, we don't have ACH, but we have a wire transfer, and so you can deduct my fee, like what I would normally pay to the factoring company, the percentage, right? I said, let's do quick pay just like last time. Can you please revise? Can you please revise the rate confirmation and include that, you know, little term, like payment terms, quick pay at this charge upon delivery. And so they did that because I was already ready to basically cancel this load because I don't wanna do a recourse, because, you know, what if he doesn't pay? Like the factoring company will pay me, I use the money, and then this guy forgets to pay them or something, or misplaces the check, and the factoring company comes after me and takes back the money. You know, it's not exactly a couple of bucks. And so I told him this. I said, I'm sorry, but I cannot do recourse factoring. Either you pay me, either we do quick pay like last time, or I won't be able to do this load. And the guy says, I'm in the shower, we'll call you back in 15. And he's in Oregon, which is of course 3 hours back. And then he calls me back, and we agree and everything, because I work with them before. They know I do good work. I stay in touch. You know, that's what, of course, that's what brokers want. They want the carrier, like even my rate confirmation says, must call, you know, when loading, unloading, when you're the shipper at the consignee, any problems, just don't call the shipper or the consignee or the customer, just call us, call the broker. And so that's what they like. They like when you communicate with them, and I'm always good about that. I'm always sending them emails, you know. They always know what's happening. So that was my morning, right? So first I was learning, trying to remember what the heck I'm moving. So I found the video. I remembered the weights, the problems, how it was loaded, and I watched my instructional video about how to operate this monster. And that machine, by the way, that's the one that broke 2 boards in the floor when we were unloading. What's funny is that when I was loading myself, because I was jumping in and out like 50 times probably, I think I lost maybe 20 pounds when I was loading that machine. Especially since it was July, it was pretty hot in South Carolina. It was in the port, a port in, I forgot the name of the town, but it's at the very ocean. But because I was jumping in and out, I was very careful, and I backed all the way, you know, from the trailer a few times just to make sure I'm perfectly straight. Because this thing, it has four tires on each axle, but they're very small. But they do overlap the outside edges of the trailer. And so as long as you go really straight, you know, and you keep that outside tire on the metal edge on the frame, you're good. But then this guy who was unloading me, he started turning the wheels, right? And so the wheels went off that edge of the frame. And as soon as they did, the board just cracked, you know? And so this time I think what I'm gonna do is, since I remember that, so this time, and last I did not use the outrigger boards. So that's why this time I'm gonna use the outrigger boards. And I asked on the permit, I know this thing was like 9 feet 6 inches wide or something like that. It was very, very narrow. But I asked for, on the permit application, I said 11 feet 2 inches, because I'm gonna put the outrigger boards down, so that would transfer more weight to the sides of the trailer. And then I think I also want to put some boards under the wheels, because I remember it was like 1310 my overall height, but that was like position 4 or 5 on the neck. So I know I can go down a couple of inches. So yeah, it's gonna be a challenging load. The good news is that it's only 500 miles, you know, only 3 states, and then I would need apply online for the Delaware Gap. I think it was free. I don't think I had to pay, but you have to fill out that thing online, because they have the same like bridge formula. The same thing I have to do at the Peace Bridge in Buffalo. I have to go, you know, to their website and oh, check this out. The sun is out. Still -8. So yeah, that's the only other 2 things I need in terms of permits is the Delaware Gap. That's at the border between New Jersey and Pennsylvania, and the Peace Bridge. But I know what they want. I know the max they allow. I'll figure it out. Now, as I'm driving, of course, I watch that situation in Europe between Russia and Ukraine, and somebody asked me for my opinion. But you know, yeah, I spent 30 years in Ukraine when it was part of the Soviet Union, because my father was there as in the military, right? And then he retired, and they stayed there, and so we lived south of Kiev, in the town called Kirovograd, and then they changed the name. I think now it's called Kropivnitsky. But for some reason they couldn't change the region's name. So the region or oblast is still called Kirovograd Oblast or Kirovograd region, which is kind of like funny, right? The center of the region is called Kropivnitsky, which is the name of a Ukrainian writer, but the region is called differently. Kirovogradskaya Oblast, Kirov region. And why they changed the name is because the town was named after Kirov. Kirov, who was a communist, a big like a big deal basically in the Communist Party, and then Stalin had him killed, and so they named the town after him. And of course, once the Ukraine became independent, they started the policy of decommunization, and so they changed the name of the town, which I think is stupid because that's part of history. But they did similar thing over here. There's the Kitchener, like where I'm in Cambridge, and next town over is called Kitchener, right? And all the way up to World War II, it actually was called Berlin. B-E-R-L-I-N, Berlin. And then the Second World War started, and they changed the name to Kitchener, which is the name of some UK officer. He was like a fleet commander or something like that, but you know, I was always wondering, Kitchener, like kitchen? Why is it called Kitchener? Turns out it was the last name of a guy. So, and so yeah, I'm familiar with the Ukraine, but I left in 92. In 1992, I moved to Moscow, Russia, and all our family are Russians by birth. But then I left Russia in 97, and I moved to Canada. And when you immigrate from a country, you know, that's probably not because you were very happy about it, right? Let's say if I left India and I was Indian, probably that's because something did not feel right to me about India, right? And so I decided I was tired of all the crime and bribery and stuff like that, you know, and always something was going on, and so I was not happy there, so I moved to Canada. And so I asked my brother, who lives there, right, my younger brother, I said, what's going on? What's the word on the street over there in Moscow, Russia? What are you guys doing? And he's of course watching, you know, Russian television. He's listening to Russian radio. He's probably reading Russian newspapers. He says, you guys over there, it's all lies. It's all lies over there in US, in Canada. It's all fake news. He says basically Russia was brought to the point. Oh yeah, and before that he says, I don't wanna go into political arguments, but he says to put it short, Russia was made to do it. What? He says, yeah, US and all NATO guys, they brought Russia to this juncture where we had to defend ourselves. So I'm not quite sure how you justify attacking a sovereign country by defending yourself, but that's what they think. So this is the typical Russian guy, not a bad guy, right? My brother, but that's what they think in Russia, that Russia was made to do it because, as Putin said in the TV address right before the attack, he says, NATO keeps expanding.
1 kilometer, take exit 100 for Brantford Hamilton.
You know, like the NATO bloc keeps expanding to the east, and we don't feel comfortable about that. We've been talking to NATO
Take exit 100.
many times, trying to stop this expansion, and that's their justification, right?
Continue for 1 kilometer.
But the cool thing is, at least for me, since I can read Ukrainian,
100 meters, keep right at the fork. Follow signs for Hamilton, Ontario 403.
and I can read Russian, I go to Google News, right? And when you click on change language, I go there and I change it. I can do English US, which is
Keep right at the fork.
US news, and then I can change it to English Canada, so it's more Canadian oriented. And then of course I found
Continue on Ontario 403 for 8 kilometers.
I found Russian, and in brackets it says Russia. So these are Russian official news. But then I found, okay, what about Ukraine? Maybe they have Ukraine, like, you know, some Ukrainian media over here. And turns out, yep, you can choose to Ukraine, or you can choose to, you can switch to a Russian Ukraine, which is brilliant. And you know, I can read Ukrainian, but it's much easier for me to read it in Russian. And so that's the three, maybe four, the four language settings I have, so I can quickly change. I can read American news in English, I can read Canadian news in English, and I can read Russian news in Russian and Ukrainian news in Russian. And I think that's the best way to make up, you know, your own opinion when you don't read stories just from one side, but you read them from, you know, many sides. But it's definitely crazy. It's crazy because, you know, it's 22nd century, right? People are supposed to be civilized and solve things through negotiations, you know, instead of shooting each other. So yeah, let's not talk about politics because it tends to annoy a lot of people, and that's why I said I left Ukraine in '92, I left Russia in '97. So if you want to know somebody's opinion about this, I'm not the guy to ask. But I'm watching this. Took a picture of the screen when Biden was doing the TV address, announcing, you know, sanctions against Russia. I took a picture and I sent it to my stock agency. I thought, you know, it's part of history. President Biden speaks on TV announcing a packet of sanctions against Russia during Russia-Ukraine war. So now that picture is somewhere online.
In 3 kilometers, take exit 74 for Ontario 6 North.
No, because, you know, I was thinking that what stock agency, right? So if somebody's writing a story, let's say somebody in the West, in the UK or US is writing a story, right? They might use a photo like that, you know, for the story. You never know. That's what stock agencies are for, right? So if you need an image, let's say you're writing a story about, I don't know, some food, and you need a picture of a plate and fork and knife, right? Instead of doing it yourself, and you need quickly and good quality, you just go to a stock agency website, you buy that picture, boom, and you get it right away, you know. Or in this case, I thought maybe somebody could use a picture of from TV, you know, a speaking president. I don't know, just trying to incorporate photography, you know, into my more photography into my daily life. So anyway, see, I made it. I'm only 30 kilometers away from the shop, because I figured I'm gonna go see what they did with the truck and make sure they give me the keys, because the last couple of times they had issues. Like, the truck is there, they cannot find.
600 meters, take exit 74 for Ontario 6 north toward Guelph.
The truck is there, everything is done, they cannot find the key. And I have a bunch of keys, but you know, they're not exactly easy to come by, right? So I said, guys, I need that key. And so finally they found it. Took them like...
Take exit 74, then continue on to Ontario 6 north.
Took them like an hour. And so that's the plan now. So just go check on my truck, pay the bill. I hope it's not too crazy high, and then drive back.
Continue for 27 kilometers.
I'm gonna drive back to my yard, park the car, and take an Uber. Or maybe drive the truck back and leave my car at the shop. I haven't decided yet. Because over there they have too, you know, they don't have enough space at this shop over there. It's all trucks everywhere. But I'm gonna ask him, is there a safe spot where I can leave my car for half an hour? If they say no, then I'll just drive to my yard, park the car, and call an Uber, and drive back, and then pick up the truck. And the broker is already asking me for my bars. I'm only be crossing probably Wednesday, maybe Tuesday, I don't know. He's already asking me for my parts, you know, the sticker. I said, hey, all my stickers are in the truck. I said, I'm just leaving Niagara Falls, waiting for the snow to be cleared. And you see, I did a smart thing. Instead of sitting in a traffic jam for 2 hours, I managed to do quite a lot of work. Right, I did my research, I ordered permits, I negotiated with the broker, the most important thing, so that he'll pay me by wire transfer. And now you see, the roads are pretty good. Sorry about that. Yeah, there's a truck in the front, and I'm not sure what the idea of this guy is. Like, what's he's hoping to achieve? He's driving behind a super heavily loaded truck. Oh, she's half asleep. Because of course that guy, it takes him a very long time to pick up speed, and now the light is red. Uh-oh, cops. All right, another one. Check this out. This guy is gonna sit in the ambush. Oh no, he took that street, went somewhere. But they like this road, this Highway 6. Oh, check this out. This guy has how many axles? 50 axles or something like that. was talking about? Yeah, tomorrow Alan from Keswick is driving over, so I'll do another video. So we'll be installing the air gauges that I have in the trunk of my car. I haven't even opened the box, and so he's bringing those little, what do you call them, like a T-shaped thing that you can plug in the gauge. We're gonna disconnect the hose from the top of the airbag on each axle, or one for the tandem trailer and then one gauge for each flip axle. And we're gonna install that little T thing and then hook up the hose and hook up the gauge, and then I'll start a little journal, and I'll be writing down my weights and the PSI, so that after a while I won't have to scale the truck. I will just look at the PSI and I will know how much weight I have per axle, because the idea is I don't want to get another ticket like what happened last time in where? Somewhere in the US, right? With that machine where, oh, in Saskatchewan, where my booster for some reason only had like 9,000 pounds on it, 5,000 kgs. And so this way, I should have done it a long time ago. This way, at least I will have an approximate idea, like if I see a big difference in pressure, let's say one axle shows 80 psi, but the other one shows, let's say, 20 psi, I will know that something is wrong. But I think, oh, and also one cool thing happened. I reached out to Hale Trailer, where I bought the trailer from and the flip axles, and I asked him to send me the booklet, because it's confusing with those tabs or cocks on the last flip axle at unit 610, the one I purchased last year, that used axle. Remember, I was talking about this, and that's the one that now I have. I don't know why I'm pointing that way. I'm in my car now. I don't have the booster in the back, so but that unit 610, it's confusing right over there with the air connectors, with the air hoses. And so to my surprise, they did find the booklet. They found the booklet, something about flip axle air controls, like a specific PDF in color. And Mark from Hale Trailer sent me a copy, so now I know what the proper position is for those tabs or cocks, or how they should be in order to supply proper, like either common air or override. I think there's a couple of plows in the front there. Yeah, they're spreading road salt. So that's what's happening. So today is Friday, so tomorrow is going to be a bit warmer. That's what we agreed with Alan. We're meeting at 10 o'clock at my place over there at the parking lot, and I still I checked the temperature. Actually, yeah, it is going up to -2 Celsius, but that's only at like 1 o'clock. Like at 10 o'clock it's still gonna be the same like now, right? -8, -7, but then with each hour it becomes warmer, so I think we should be okay. So we need to install 5 gauges. So one on the tandem trailer, right? And then one on the flip axle, that's now number 3, and then one on the booster, and one on the other flip axle. Wait a second, so that's only 4. But yeah, I think I got 5, so you know, just so that I have a spare. So yeah, we need to install only 4. And then the Jeep, the tandem Jeep already has that gauge, and also the booster has a gauge on the spreader, you know, inside, well, like those airbags, the big airbags, there's a gauge there. But I don't trust that one, but it is helpful because it shows when, you know, if let's say if it shows 0, I know it's not good, right? So it should have pressure over there. But I really need to see the flip axle pressure. I knew it. I knew that somebody would call me. That's why it's a good thing that I just talked to the permit company. That, you know, they're working on the permits already. And the girl called me and she says, "I'm working on your permit, and of course there's a problem." And I'm thinking, man, what if they... She didn't say anything about the weight, but she says about the route. She says, "I cannot get you from New Jersey into Pennsylvania without a survey, a road survey." And I'm like, man. And I said, "What's the catch? What do we do?" And she says, "Well, I found you a route. You have to go from New Jersey straight into New York on 287, you know, like around Newark, New Jersey on 287. And but of course that's not going to be very nice. I think it's gonna go, she's sending me probably on New York 17. Man, that's like mountains there, but there's nothing I can do." And she says, "This way you don't need surveys, and now you only need 2 permits, so just New Jersey and New York," which makes sense. But of course New York, I'm pretty sure I would need at least 1 pilot, because I'm going to be over 80 feet long with this booster. But I don't want to leave the booster at home, because then I think the trailer will be even more, like, too much weight. So yeah, it's going to be a crazy load, boys and girls. Crazy load. But at least she didn't say anything about axle weights, so it looks like they can give me those weights, 23 per axle on all axles after the lift. So the steer is 20, the lift is 20, and all the rest are 23, which is beautiful. So of course it's going to be expensive, because the more weight you ask for, the more money they want. But there's only 2 permits. I think maybe like $500 maybe for New Jersey, and probably more for New York. We'll see. But that's good. So only one problem with the permit, right? So no Pennsylvania. I know why they did this. It's because Pennsylvania over there, you have to go through this Delaware Gap, and that's a toll bridge.